Hey, Bat Family. How you doing? How you doing, Scott?
I am, yeah.
Yep. Cool.
Breathing. Feet are on the ground.
Depending on which review comes out first, you may understand why we're saying that.
Yeah.
But you know what? We are here to talk about a game that we have both very much enjoyed.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a sponsored review. The game Endangered by Joe Hopkins. It was published by Grand Gamers Guild. Was provided to us by Grand Gamers Guild. Mm-hmm. We have just played the original box of Endangered. Mm-hmm. And within that box are two scenarios. We have played both scenarios. And man, this one's fun. I'm excited to get into this review. This one's fun.
Yeah. This one was so thinky. And I loved it.
Yeah.
Because you felt the weight of every choice. And I liked that.
The theme comes through strong.
So strong. But we can...
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and move on into how does the game play? How to play Endangered. As a point of clarity, we were provided the second edition of the game. I don't know if there are any major changes from first to second, but just know that going forward. Endangered is played over a variable amount of rounds as dependent on player count. For example, a 2-player game will have a maximum of 9 rounds, referred to as years, with the voting years being rounds 8 and 9. In a 5-player game, you'll have a maximum of 4 years, with the voting years being 3 and 4. Over the course of Endangered, you're trying to influence a number of ambassadors from various countries to vote yes on the needed conservation measures to help the endangered animals. These proposals are just kind of vagaries and not explicitly marked out, but you can just see it as trying to gain approval for all the actions you're taking across the course of the game. The ambassadors themselves will have a variety of different conditions needed to be met, and they can switch back and forth from being no's to yeses depending on dice rolls, board state conditions, or game difficulty options. But the only time it will matter for them to be yeses is during those voting years. The ambassadors all start face down at the beginning of the game, so you won't know who is available or what needs to be done. You just have to start placing influence cubes, because as soon as a single cube is placed on an ambassador, they flip over, and now you know their conditions. Getting them flipped over as fast as possible is clutch. The only way to win the game of Endangered is to have 4 yeses among the ambassadors during one of the 2 voting years. If you fail to gain their approval during the first year, you'll get one more round to try and do so. If you fail to get those yeses during the second voting year, then the game is lost. You can additionally lose the game if you ever need to place out a pollution tile, or a deforestation tile, or similar destruction tile, and cannot do so, or if you have only 1 or 0 animals left on the board. It's a tough game to win and a very easy one to lose, so playing smartly and cooperatively with your fellow players is key in this game. The gameplay loop of Endangered is pretty straightforward, but there are changes to the way certain phases work depending on the animal scenario you're playing. We're going to be using the otters as our example for those phases, but know that the framework of the game phases will not change. Actions, offspring, destruction, impact, upkeep, just how they play out. We'll be referring to the tiles in the destruction phase as pollution tiles, but if we were playing with tigers, then they'd be referred to as deforestation. So first up, the action phase. Here you're going to actually use your dice and play them to various cards to execute effects. If this is the second year of the game or later, then the active player will gather their dice off the actions they played last round, thereby freeing up actions and possibly letting them use them again this year. For the first year, no dice will have been played yet, and you'll just skip this. The game board itself will have a variety of actions printed on it that are always available in the game. But as players, you'll be playing cards from your hands to the general action space area. Any cards played, regardless of who played them, if they had the action card type, are available to be accessed by all players. If a card says continuous, that is a power that specific player is going to gain as long as it's in play. And if it says once, then it's a one and done card. To take an action on an action card, you'll place out one of your 3 dice. Essentially, with the exception of the social media campaign space that can hold any amount of dice, an action can only hold 1 die per player. And to take that action, your die must be higher than any other die at that location. The exception here is in a 2-player game, your die must be at least 2 higher than the other player's die. Actions are very straightforward, and their effects are never modified by the value of the die. It just allows you to execute what is there. That might be moving animals on the board, getting rid of persistent impact cards, influencing ambassadors, or a variety of other things. Once all of your dice are placed, you'll move on to the offspring phase. In the offspring phase, you'll count the number of mating pairs on the board, essentially where there are even numbers of animals together. Take that number and add 1, and that's your target number to roll. You'll take one of the dice and try to get equal to or less than your target number. If you do, you place a new animal next to any of the mating pairs in an adjacent empty space on the board. If you miss that number, then no mating has occurred and the phase is over. If you have all the animal tokens on the board, you just simply skip this phase. During the destruction phase, you'll roll dice to place out pollution tiles. This is different depending on which scenario you're playing, but pollution tiles are always bad. In the Otter's case, you'll only be rolling for which row they're going to go into, and then place them into the leftmost space in that row without a pollution tile. If a pollution tile ever ends up in a space with animal tokens, all of those animals are lost. In the Otter scenario, you'll be rolling for those tiles twice. Once you've generated and placed all the tiles per the scenario rules, this phase ends. Next is the impact phase, where you'll simply draw a card off the top of the impact deck and do what it says. Impacts are almost always negative, though every once in a while you'll hit a reprieve and something good can happen. Impacts come in two types: instant, which happen once and then go away, and persistent, which will live on the board generally until you do something to remove them. Most persistent impacts generally add a negative conditional to the gameplay, but they might not do anything until another impact triggers them, and then things really cascade. Regardless, you'll want to get rid of these as fast as possible in most cases. Finally, the upkeep phase. At this point, you'll draw one card from your deck, and the active player will choose the next player to take their turn. This means in a 3 or 4 player game, you won't have a set rotation of turns and can more easily adapt to the situation. In a solo or 2 player game, though, you just simply alternate back and forth. At the end of the year, if it's a voting year, you'll check on all your ambassadors to see if you managed to win the game. Otherwise, you just restart at the top of the next year, and you keep going. All right, learning curve and ease of teach. So, Scott, I taught this to you.
Yep.
We played with a big gap in between for a couple of the games, just because we wanted to play it again before we had this recording. I don't think I really had to do much for reteaching you.
Yeah, no, it was quick little brush up, like literally like, oh, hey, don't forget this thing. And this is the difference because there's just 2 of us this time because we played it with a third the last time. And man, you realize how important things are. And once you start seeing what's out there on the board, it was relatively easy.
And as far as the ease of teach goes, it's really straightforward. Thankfully, depending on which scenario you're playing with, you're going to have an explicit, here are the unique rules for the scenario. Here's what happens with offspring and destruction. There's variation within that. But the actual structure of the game, honestly, you can use the very good player aid. And there's a player aid for everybody. And you know how much I love that.
Yep.
You can teach the game off of this. It's really straightforward. The rulebook is good. The player aids are great. It doesn't take long to set up. It doesn't take long to teach. I was very, very pleased with how solid and easy it was to do that.
I thought it was very nice. I mean, we'll get into a little bit because depending on the roles, but there's cards that are unique to just you. So those are the ones you really just need to pay attention to. And then everybody has a bunch of cards that are shared. So it's like as soon as you see one, it's in your deck, already know what it does, and which is great because that means you have more opportunity to do those things. It's good.
For as much as going on in this game, and there is quite a bit going on. You're balancing a lot of things.
Yeah, it's not insignificant,
It never feels overwhelming or overtaxing.
No.
Like, the decision space is really good, but actually the teach is so straightforward because the game is able to be that straightforward. Artwork, components, iconography. There's a lot of it across the board.
There's a lot of it across the board.
So let's talk artwork first, because to me, it is the weakest part of the production.
Okay.
I think it does this like Arc Nova thing where it uses real photography or what appears to be close to photography. Maybe it's not. I don't know. It's fine. It's functional. I don't love the artwork.
Yeah.
It gets the point across, and that's about it.
Yeah. If you're wanting gorgeous artwork, it's not going to give it to you, but
it's not an ugly game by any means.
No, it's not. It's not ugly art. It's just, it's okay. You're not going to go, oh my God, the Japanese flag is amazing. No, you're going to be like, okay, it's a Japanese flag.
What is going to draw people's eye isn't the artwork, it's the board presence, because the board does have great presence despite the fact it is essentially a track, a couple of cards, and a grid. But based on the way the tiles come out or where the animals are positioned, it does have a really cool draw to, ooh, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So there's some really neat ideas just within the way the game is structured and the way it plays. But I mean, like I said, I'm sitting here saying the artwork is average, and that's really my biggest complaint against the game in this scenario. If we're looking at components, strong across the board. The cards are really good quality. The pollution tiles are double-sided, so they're able to be used for both scenarios, but because you only need one side, it's not like I'm drawing out a bag. Like it was a smart production choice.
Yep.
Where it actually worked to have double-sided tiles. The player, it's not a board, I don't know what to call this.
It's kind of like your station, in all honesty, because it houses your dice. You put your player power underneath it, and you have your chip that lets you know that you still haven't gone yet.
Yeah.
It has a little spot to house it, and that's about it.
But it's smart. It's very functional, and it just makes sense of, oh, hey, this is where this goes, this is what's happening. So that's all really well laid out. I like the wooden pieces. I actually really like the standard green cubes that are in the box.
I do too,
Like-
which is wild, because usually I want something fancy.
Like
but
I want to
think-
upgrade them or change. Like, I don't know. They just feel really good for being basic green cubes.
Yeah, which is very weird. But then again, as you sit there and you think about what this game is representing, I think that is perfect.
Yeah, we can go down the line of, the little otters look great and the tigers look great and whatever. But I think across the board, components are very good.
Yeah, agreed.
Iconography, there's a lot. But it's clear.
It makes sense.
There is a glossary of all the iconography on page 6 of the rulebook.
And there's what, like 20 of them? 24 or something like that?
Yeah, 25, something like that. But it's all smart enough of, if you see essentially a yellow circle with a tiger silhouette, you're going to be doing something with an animal token. You know that if you see a card, does it have an arrow or a plus sign? So it's all very intuitive. And once you've played the game once, in even honestly partway through the game, you're going to pick it up. And for there being as many icons as there are, I don't think the onboarding or the continual play across it is difficult in any way.
Agreed.
Replayability and player count. Yeah.
This replayability is high.
Yes.
Between dealing with trying to get the votes and the different countries that are represented within your voting block, because it's unknown to you, depending on what pops out, depending on what scenario you're doing, depending on what characters you decide to play and what player count, that's not insignificant.
Well, when you're looking at this base box, you have 5 roles to play, you have 2 scenarios, there's a variety of different ambassadors that you're going to go try and influence. So there's some modularity and stuff there, but where the game really shines, I think, is what this base box shows is an incredible framework for all the things you can slot in, because there are a number of scenarios that you can go track down that are individual, like monarch butterflies or red wolves, or you can pick up the endangered species expansion, which adds in more scenarios and more of everything. And so it almost has that final girl level of, I want to play with this species with these roles in play, and we're going to, slot in and adjust the way we want. So I think the base box feels a little limited just with only 2 scenarios, but put in one more scenario and you're great. And because they keep supporting the game, because there is so much there, I think the replayability is very high, especially if you like what's there, you're going to want to come back to it. But there's also enough out there that you can keep expanding and not have it be overwhelming or overwrought the way some framework games like this are. I really like what's here.
Yeah, same.
Player count. We have played it at multiple player counts, and I think it scales very well. I enjoyed it at 2, I enjoyed it at 3, I enjoyed it at 4.
Yeah, agreed. That's rare, because typically you're like, I really don't want to have it at 4. I don't want to have it at a max player count, because I don't like how it feels. But the whole thing is that the decision space gets changed so much, and dealing with the dice and having to have your dice be higher than the other ones that are on the table, that's really neat.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that. And I think that's the thing, is that because it scales the way it scales, and there's enough options for you to choose what you want to do, it's great.
Yeah, it's a really interesting little thing they did with the player count, that you are essentially always going to have roughly the same amount of turns within a game, anywhere between like 18 and 20 total turns. But depending on how many players is how many turns each individual person is going to have. And so the fact that in a 5-player game, you're only going to have 4 rounds, but each person gets 4 turns, so you still have 20 turns to deal with things. Whereas in a 2-player game, you have 18, but each person is now taking 9 turns. It's an interesting way to handle it, and I think it was executed very well. And for somebody like myself who doesn't like, I only have 9 turns in a game, it feels very fulfilling and very much like, okay, I'm glad I only have 9 turns, because surviving all the way through, if everybody had 9 turns every time, would feel...
It'd be a slog.
Yeah. It really manages to keep the game moving along regardless of player count.
And how would you survive the impact deck? How would you survive 36 draws of that deck?
Oof. You wouldn't.
I mean, we barely survived when we only had to draw 18. But still.
It's just smart design.
It's smart design.
Solo mode. It exists. It's fun. You are going to set up and play 2 characters and you just two-hand it.
Nice.
If you like the game, if you like it at 2 players, you're going to like the solo mode, because that's basically what you're doing.
That's what you're going to do.
What's to like? What's to dislike? Scott, go ahead and kick us off.
Yes.
What? Cool.
I'm going to be honest. The decision space is so nice. The fact that there are cards in every deck that are similar enough so that's like, hey, I don't want to play the lobbyist this time. I want to be the TV personality, which I know sounds like a crazy change up in roles, but the fact that there are similar cards is really, really nice. And what's unique makes them unique.
Yeah, each role feels...
on theme.
Yeah, and it's never this, okay, I'm playing you, but I just have one different card. Like, they feel different.
Yeah, there's like 4, I think.
In base box, there's 5, and then each one has 2 unique powers.
Okay.
Now, again, we've only played this base original box, so there might be more in the other scenarios and the other expansions. But as far as your small, unique player powers, there's 2. As far as differences within the deck, I'm not entirely positive.
There's 4.
Okay.
Yeah, so you'll have 4 cards that are completely unique to your character, and the unique powers make you feel like you are that type of person. I got to be the lobbyist, and I think between the 2 characters that I played, because I played those the most, I really enjoyed the lobbyist the most because I felt like I had the most impact in the game. The TV personality was great,
Yeah.
but I didn't feel as impactful. Like, I didn't think I was doing as much in the game, where I really felt like I was essential in the game. You know, I was just doing stuff when I was the TV personality. Here, I felt like I was impacting the game for all of us. And I think that's just for me and my experience.
Sure,
I think,
yeah. I think I'm just going to have to blend what I like and dislike together at this point. Because you're right. With the lobbyist, you are impactful. You're doing things. When I played a game as the philanthropist, it felt like, okay, I'm okay here, but money is very hard to come by in this game. Which, again, thematic, on point. There are people and governments and organizations who don't care about this type of stuff. And so the game is incredibly thematic. For as lucky as the game can be, it still feels like, oh, well, there's a reason the pollution has to end up where the tigers are, because that's where it matters.
Yeah.
And so there's some really great thematic connection with that randomness, where I feel like the roles, again, base box only, unless you have the lobbyist or the environmental lawyer, it can feel a little like you're underpowered. The zoologist is fine, but I also don't know if that was just because in the game that we played, that configuration of roles that it felt underpowered. So I think the roles are going to be impacted by what other roles are there, what scenarios are playing. Again, it's a very modular, it's a framework game. And I think if you add in the other stuff, there's a lot of good here. Essentially, what this reminds me of is the first time I played Marvel Legendary way, way back in the day. You play that base box and you're like, okay, I see what's here. I want more. And then you got the Dark City expansion. You're like, this is exactly what I needed. Now there's way too much out there for that game at this point. But I think I would like more for this because I want to use the zoologist and try and save sea turtles or red foxes or whatever. It just comes back to that. I love the framework. I love the modularity. I love the agency that is here because there is so much that you are doing and everything you're doing feels impactful. And for a game that is as dense as this is, because there is so much stuff going on, and the fact that it is essentially open hand, there's not an alpha player here. Because there's so much to discuss and there's so many roles to go after. It has that great, here's all the information on the table, but boy, we got to do this right.
Yeah.
And because of that luck factor, because how are the dice going to roll, how are the impact cards going to come out, it defeats that alpha player problem.
Yeah, I think that's when we're getting ready to talk about things that you don't like. I think if sometimes those dice rolls are just going to bite you.
Yep.
We've lost games because of dice rolls.
Yes.
Regardless whether it was the destruction portion where here comes the deforestation or here comes the oil slick, or it could be this is the roll for trying to win over one of the countries as a vote, and you're like, cool, I just don't need a roll of 1. Oh. There it is. Luckily enough, we had another year to deal with, but had that been the final year, that would have been one heck of a bummer.
Yeah, and the box lists an hour for playtime, and I think that's relatively correct.
It felt right.
But you're not wrong. It does feel like a kick in the pants when you are looking at all the ambassadors you have, and those are randomly set out, and you aren't even able to see what an ambassador is until you put a token on it.
Yep.
And so there's more of that randomness there, and I put one on, and it turns out it's, France that says you need a bunch of bad stuff on the table plus cubes here to make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, that's depending on what the bad stuff, like in the Sea Otter, having persistent on the board wasn't that bad. Most of the time it was actually helpful. If it was the oil slick, it wasn't great.
Right.
But in the tiger scenario,
we were trying to get rid of them as fast as
You have
possible.
to get rid of them so fast.
Well, and then like you're talking about how things are random. We had Canada and Japan. Japan, you have to get 16 total points, and that's the cubes on the card plus all the cards in your hand. Canada is all the cards on the board.
Yeah.
Plus and then you're only needing 14. So it's like,
yeah. And when you're looking at money,
and we had both of them.
And money can be very hard to come by.
Yep.
And cards can be very hard to come by.
Yeah, because you're only drawing one.
Yeah. And if you are taking the social media action, that's great.
But then you're not making money.
And you are potentially blocking somebody else because of your numbers. It's resources are super tight in this game.
Yeah.
And so if you don't like having to be pitch perfect with every dollar you're spending, this is not going to be the game for you.
Yeah, because even though we won in our game for the Otters, we were like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to spend this dollar for this reason because then this. And like we kept the one negative thing because the bureaucracy, because if you wanted to use my card, you had to pay me, which was great because you were making money. And so you paid me to use my power, which made sure I always had a dollar so I could use my dollar to influence the ambassadors.
But again, that comes back down to those are the roles we chose.
Yep.
So it worked out that way. If I wasn't the environmental lawyer in that particular game, if I was a zoologist, we would have been tanked because money would have been way too hard.
Yep.
So high theme.
Yes.
High interactivity.
Oh my gosh.
High replayability.
Yep.
A lot of luck.
Yeah.
Resources are tight.
Oh my gosh.
And you better be prepared that you might just lose this game on a die roll.
Yep. Yep. Those are the things.
Recommendations. I have a couple here.
I mean, Arc Nova, first thing that comes to mind, because just
thematically,
sure. It comes to mind.
Arc Nova is a much heavier game.
Is a much heavier game than this. Well,
physically as well.
Very much physically. Well, you know what? Okay, it's a heavier game, game mechanics wise. To me, this impacts me more because like you're getting the bits of information on the cards of like this is what actually happens. Sure. Did you know that? I think that theme hits so much stronger in this game than Arc Nova. Outside that, I unfortunately do not have any other recommendations.
So I've got two.
Okay.
The first one is one that we have specific and special content out there for, which you will not have heard yet at the time of this being released. But there is a game called Burn the Fort.
Oh, yes.
Which I will admit, Jason was on point by recommending this in that review, and so I'm going to go backwards and steal his recommendation for here, because Burn the Fort has that same idea of high theme, high randomness, but a lot of direct player interaction, a lot of really challenging moments on the board, challenging theme. Really, really interesting game. I know it's a little harder to get a hold of, but if you can get it, it's from Indigenous Action. That's the publisher. Really like that one quite a bit. I think if you like this and you're willing to engage with that game's theme, you're going to have something there as well. The other one, because I might as well drop yet another heavy theme here, is Freedom the Underground Railroad from Academy Games.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And again, if you like that, you're going to have your roles. You are going to be dealing with some tough history going on, and you are trying to make sure that you are maximizing your gains while minimizing your losses, and really saying like, you know what, send me to the Senate. I'm going to be the guy working on this, whereas you're going to help move slaves across and try and get them up into Canada. There's a lot of thematic and mechanical similarity without them being anything like each other, really. But they both give me that there's a lot going on here. This feels like a challenge to interact with. There is the luck, there is the strategy and the cooperation amongst all the players. Like I said, both of those games are heavy themes, but if you're willing to engage with them, if you like this, I think you will really like both of those.
I completely agree.
Final thoughts. What you got, Scott?
Oh, man. So many thoughts. I think just because of replayability and its theming, and man, this has got to sit at like a 9 for me.
Okay.
Because even though like Tigers beat the snot out of us, because that was just a hard loss, and how hard Otters was comparatively, and we came out with a win on that one, I still want to do it again.
Oh, absolutely.
All the replayability and the theme and everything like that, there's also like this really neat thing that they have teamed up with the Center for Biological Diversity, which is a nonprofit conservation organization. It just makes me like this game more, because just like, you brought up Burn the Fort, you brought up the Underground Railroad. This is also a game with a message. I think that's why I have to make this a 9. Because I am a science nature nerd at heart, and had my life gone a little bit differently, I would have been a marine biologist. So like doing little sea otters, I was just like, yay, sea otters.
Well, otters are one of my absolute favorite animals. So,
oh, yeah. Because even with how swingy and hard this can be, I don't mind it. I think it's mitigated much better than it has been in other games. So yeah, that's why it has to be a 9 for me.
So I'm also at a shelf.
Yeah.
I'm going in at an 8.
Okay.
For me, the reason I'm going at an 8 is I just want more.
Yes.
So you have the difficulty, you have the swinginess, you have that stuff. But this is not going to be a game that I'm going to pull out at just any random game night, because it is interesting and it's challenging, because you're right. It is a theme I want to engage with, but it's not a theme that I am able to always engage with.
True.
It's like when I played Inferno, also from Grand Gamers, one of my absolute favorite pieces of literature.
Yep.
It is a game that I am continually obsessed with, but do I always want to interact with that? Do I always want to put that on the table? No. This is easier to table than that one, certainly.
Oh yeah, because size.
Size, rules, complexity, like to teach, all the things. But when I look at it as a base box, it's incredibly strong. As a framework, it's incredibly strong.
Yes.
But I want more in it. And thankfully, the stuff is out there and it exists for it. So I'm not upset about that at all. But if I just had this, and I never picked anything else up, I think I would eventually get to a point where I'd be like, I've seen this. But even just adding in one more scenario or one more role type, anything like that, I think there's such potential in this box. And it's potential that has already been capitalized on. But if I'm looking at this as a standalone product, I'm giving it an 8. I love it. It's great. Do I think with other stuff in there, it'll go up? Absolutely. But on the box as it stands, it's an 8. And it sounds so silly for me to say it that way, because an 8 is very good, especially on our rating scale. That is a shelf. That is a, hey, you should own this game. And it still feels low to me.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely sit there and say adding more modularity into this with different animals and the new roles and stuff like that, it can only go up from here.
Now, normally we would get all sassy with each other for our outro, but we do want to mention one of the reasons we were provided a copy of Endangered is the new Endangered Australia Kickstarter campaign is coming out. You will be hearing this the day that it launches on September 2nd. But we wanted to just give you a review of why we like the game. And we are very happy to be able to support Grand Gamers Guild with this expansion and this Kickstarter, because Mark even told us, look, if you don't like the game, great, let people know. But turns out we really like
this game.
So the new expansion, like we said, is called Endangered Australia. And there are 3 new scenarios in there, 2 new ambassadors, and a new role, as well as a few other surprises are going to be talking about. And if you remember us talking about the Endangered Rescue, it is like the Holiday Hijinks series, the 18-card escape room thing they put out. We really like that series. And in fact, the new Tasmanian Devil Endangered Rescue escape room is going to be included in the Kickstarter box for those of you that want to pick this expansion up, which is awesome. If we're looking at what Australia provides, there's some really, really neat stuff. So you have 3 new scenarios. The koalas, because of course, they are actually going to add a brand new mechanism into the game. You have the giant barred frogs, where you're actually going to be needing to remove frogs off of the board because you don't want things to overpopulate before they ruin an ecosystem, as well as the Great Barrier Reef scenario, where you're actually protecting the entire ecosystem. And so there are a lot of neat little choices they're making in there, including actually balancing like a predator and prey system. So there's some really neat ideas coming with these 3 scenarios. On top of that, there are 2 new ambassadors, and they are a new ambassador type that they just automatically gain influence. So depending on when you open them up and how they interact, that means that you might just be able to keep them going, which is a really neat idea. Finally, there is the new Prime Minister role in the game. And Scott, you mentioned earlier that each character has 4 unique cards. Yeah, the Prime Minister has 8. So, very, very unique character there. I'm very excited about this. The base pledge is going to be $60, and it sounds like there may be some other options in there. I don't have those details as of this moment, but I'm really hoping that they have the other endangered stuff on the campaign as well. I know I definitely want to pick more of this up. I really enjoy this, and I cannot wait to see what happens with those new scenarios. I really want to try that Great Barrier Reef one.
Yeah, hearing all the stuff that's getting ready to come out with Australia, this will probably be, I mean, we've got this copy, and yes, I can use yours, but I'm not always out this way, and it might be something I want to pick up myself because it's a really good game, y'all.
It's really, really good.
I know we say it a lot. Like, you'll hear us, I know over this podcast, we have said, oh, it's a really good game. I was really happy to sit down in front of this one.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is going to be good.
We finished our first play of it, and we're like, boy, this was really hard. Had some swinginess. Had this.
But man, it was good.
But we're going to play it again, right? Like tomorrow?
Yeah.
It's just really, really good.
And what else can you say about that? Other than go get the dang thing.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Normally you hear Scott's voice at this point, but today I get to announce a really cool partnership. For Season 2, we are going to be sponsored by Secret Door Games in Elkhart, Indiana. We'll give you more info about that at the beginning of the season, but for now, we wanted to let you know about their 10 years of gaming celebration. It's coming up on Saturday, September 13th, and Secret Door is going to be holding their 10th anniversary party and hosting games, special guests, events, giving away prizes, and of course, sales. So, check them out on Saturday, September 13th from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Time over at 215 South Main Street in Elkhart, Indiana. You can also find out more details on Secret Door themselves at their website, secretdoorgames.org, where they also have a link to their Facebook event page for the anniversary party. Thanks again to Secret Door for sponsoring us, and congratulations on 10 years of gaming. Scott?
No.
Get out of my ecosystem.
Good luck with that.